series was titled Past, Present, and Future. And so we have had three movies. We had two movies, one in February and one in March. And this concludes our three-part series, now looking at the present, or the events that brought us to the present, and what lies ahead for Egypt. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're trying to do with this and what we're hoping we will continue to do in the fall. But before I go any further, I would like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the Office of International Programs, who is hosting this film series this spring and will continue to do so in the fall. What we had tried to accomplish with this is to bring students and faculty and staff and community members together and to learn about an interesting development somewhere in the world. And a committee was formed, and this committee decided that the first films should focus on Egypt because of the events that happened there last year. And so we selected the movies for this semester. Currently, this committee is looking for a region for the fall. And we have not reached a decision yet, but it could also be several movies from different regions. But by the end of this semester, this should be completed. So look for advertisement early in the fall, with the start of fall semester, on the international program's fall film series. We have one member of that committee here tonight, a faculty member who also teaches in the Teaching with Film Institute, Sean O'Brien. Thank you for being here. And what we're watching tonight is two documentaries back to back. We'll have a little break between the documentaries so that if there are questions, we could address those and you don't have to hold them till the end of both documentaries. We'll start out with the first one being Egypt, We're Watching You. And it is a documentary that was made in 2005, and we selected it because we wanted to inform the audience, you, about the fact that what happened last year was in no way something that sort of happened in an instant or fell out of the sky. It's something that developed over time, and several researchers and the filmmakers that were looking at this development from 2005 on forward sort of said, well, this is obviously something that is taking much longer, and the events that sort of led to the fall of the Mubarak regime is something that had its origin perhaps many years back. And that's exactly why we decided to show this documentary first, and then to continue with a second documentary that was filmed last year titled Goodbye Mubarak. So that's when it actually was happening. In 2005, we sort of are looking at the start of this, or at some point in time, the development of it. Probably wasn't the start of it. And then with the fall of the Mubarak regime last year, as you recall, in the spring, and the name that resulted out of the entire movement, the Arab Spring movement, with the movie Goodbye Mubarak. And while I teach with film at this university and have used films in many of my classes, I'm in no way an expert on Egypt, but I'm very happy tonight, and we feel very fortunate to have a true expert and scholar on Egypt here tonight. And this is a change from our original programming, but we are confident that this will be wonderful for you to have a person and to hear sort of the development and the interpretation of events from a person that was born and raised in Egypt, and that will be our featured speaker for tonight. Mohamed Abdelsamad is from Samanut, Egypt, and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in education. He received a diploma in school management in 1996, and he currently teaches at Samanut El Jadida Prep School for girls. He is here this year at Hellgate High School in a teacher exchange program, and through the State Department. Yes. And so we're very fortunate to have him here in Missoula. Mohamed has presented at a number of national conferences about education. He has also published a number of articles and poems on Egyptian literature. Mr. Mohamed also enjoys writing poetry and novels himself. As a teacher with a Teachers of Critical Languages program, he looks forward to enhancing American students' awareness of the Arabic language and culture. And we're very happy to have him here tonight. Thank you very much for coming. I'm just going to hand it over to you and sit in the back and listen. Thank you.
Hello everybody, and thank you very much for your interest in our country and our culture. Of course, I'm very happy to be here in Missoula. I consider it my second hometown. The people here are very friendly, and today it's a good chance to speak about my country. I'm going to speak about Egypt. When I want to speak about Egypt, I'm going to speak about a mixture of components that created our character, our Egyptian character. If we consider the Egyptian character, we can talk about Islam and Christianity. We can talk about Arab world, Africa, North Africa, Middle East. We can talk about a lot of educated people all over the Arab world. We can talk about doctors, about engineers, about teachers. We can also talk about skilled workers all over the Arab world. We can talk about Nobel winners like Mohamed Abdelsamad, Ahmed Zuhair, Naguib Mahfouz, and we can also talk about some factors which, like our long history, our strategic geographic position, which I don't know if it was a grace or something, it was a torment because we had a lot of invasions because of this. We can talk about a lot of defensive, heroic battles and wars that Egypt launched throughout its history. Most of our wars were defensive, very rare invasions, and very, very rare revolutions. As Egyptians, for a long period, we have all these components. We were watching this in movies. While we were watching all of these in movies, we were watching our heroes, our scientists, the stories about the famous Egyptians. We were also watching a lot of corrupt and ignorant people in every institution of our country. The responsible for this, unfortunately, was one whom we considered to be a hero at the very beginning. When President Mubarak came to authority, he was one of the heroes of our wars. At first, he was a good man. That's my own opinion. Perhaps when you talk to a younger Egyptian, he wouldn't say anything good about Mubarak. But I attended some very few years at the beginning of his authority. He tried to be democratic. He tried to give freedom to mass media. He set free a lot of prisoners. But, you know, we have a saying in Egypt that chair or the throne changes. We just say it like this. This means throne or the chair changes people. When the time got longer and longer, instead of staying for only 2 periods, he decided to extend. He stayed about 6 periods instead. And when he decided to move the throne, however, we are not a kingdom, we are a republic, and we are tired of being governed by people who inherit this throne or this presidency. When he thought of this, to move the presidency to his younger child, we were very angry. It was not a matter of being governed by this young man, but the only achievement for Gamal Mubarak, his son, whom he wanted to be the leader of this country, was supporting the national Egyptian team in a football match, and we lost this match. So how can we support him? Unfortunately, he started to create a lot of loyal people. To create those loyal people, he started to search for, sometimes create corrupt and ignorant people to maintain their loyalty. If you put an ignorant people at the head of a certain institution, so he doesn't deserve this position. Accordingly, he's loyal to Mubarak because he is the only source of his power. By the time he stayed longer and longer, he lived longer and longer, and corruption has spread everywhere in our country. And it started we started to have the feeling that we are not that country we hear about. We are just the things I told you about at the very beginning. It was something we heard about. We watched our scientists, educated people, experts, escaping from Egypt, looking for work, look everywhere in the world. A lot of our people traveled to France, to Italy. This was a good thing. But the bad thing is that a lot of people died when they tried to escape from our country to find a job. As a teacher in Egypt, let's consider this. As a teacher, teaching for a long time, I had very good student, let's say a brilliant student. Within the years, he goes to the university, graduates, and afterwards, I found this student unemployed. He's going to be considered unemployed, and this is something. It's something like an insult in Egypt. A lot of graduates positions were given to those who have relatives in the National Political Party, National Democratic Party, which is Mubarak's party. Of course, there are a lot of reasons for our revolution, but I don't want to burn out the movies, the 2 movies you are going to watch. But we had this feeling, and we decided to revolt. But we had a problem. According to our religion, according to our culture, according to our history, it's not easy to revolt against a leader or a ruler of our country. Why? When you want to revolt, there may be a lot of bloodshed because he has a lot of loyal people. So we decided to make it a peaceful revolution. However, the cost is so, to my opinion, we had to, and we still have to pay the price for the peaceful concept of our revolution. If the revolution was very dictator, a lot of Mubarak's men were going to be afraid, but now they are trying to destroy the revolution. And of course, this is a kind of side effect to what we have done during the revolution. Of course, we can't judge or gauge the effects of our revolution now, but we have many gains and many losses. At least now, some people, for example, are afraid that radical Muslims have come to the parliament, the House of Commons, with a good percentage. But for me, I was very happy for this. Why I'm happy for this? Radical Muslims, we call them Salafi people. which are affected by the sect of in Saudi Arabia. They are very pious people, I can't deny this, but while they were at the age of Mubarak, they were sent, a lot of them were sent to prisons, they were afraid, they were surrounded, but now they came to the real life or real political view. So when you speak from a very far area, you can talk about utopian things. You are going to talk about things that should be done, you have to do this and that. But when you come to the ground of reality, you start to adapt yourself. You start to understand and you start to be modest. And this is going to be a good thing for these people. On the other hand, we have out of the people who started the revolution are the Yas, especially the Yas. Most people participated like an ordinary people. We participated going into demonstrations in the street, peaceful demonstrations, even when some people were killed. You didn't know who killed these people, especially snipers did this. So you can't go to a poor officer or a poor soldier and take revenge from him. So it was a dilemma for us. But we tried to maintain it peaceful. The young people who started this revolution had no place in the parliament. They did a very good thing. They started and they were very consistent and stayed in Tahrir Square all the time. And afterwards, when we came to the topic of authority or who's going to take position, they had nothing. Of course, they are of low experience, and this is something expected. This is the case of what we call the revolution, yes. The Muslim Brotherhood, which is a brotherhood which has a very long history. Now they came to the parliament and took the largest number or the majority of the chairs in the parliament, and now the constitution is to be set. A lot of controversy about this because sometimes we get tired of this. You are not going to rule alone. We had the revolution to change this fact. We wanted the revolution to make Egyptians govern the Egyptians, not a special or a certain president, a certain party, a certain brotherhood. And now we are going to wait for whom is going to be the president of Egypt. It's not easy to expect. We have all kinds of trends. We have some military people, Omar Suleiman. We have the radical candidate, Hazim Salah Abu Ismail, who now have a very large controversy about the citizenship of his mother. People say that his mother is American, she has an American passport, so he can't be a candidate for presidency, and he had a cause in the court for this, and I don't know if he is going to be a candidate or being disqualified for this. We have Muslim Brotherhood told us that we are not going to push a candidate or support a candidate, but afterwards they chose one of their leaders to be a candidate for presidency. Many Egyptians didn't like this. He's a very good man, but we didn't accept the idea or like the idea of that. He's called Khayrat al-Shatir. I'm sorry because I'm trying to skip the area of the two movies. So I'm talking to the before and the last. You are going to watch what is between my talk. So we are waiting. We just wait and watch. But we express our opinions because, to be sincere, during the House of Commons elections, it was very fair. It was very democratic. The people chose the Muslim Brotherhood and Salafi people, radical Muslims, in a democratic way. Of course, some influence. They have, for example, some people used what we call religious taboo. If you are going to vote for this man, you are going to help the secularism, the people who don't want Islam, please choose the Muslims. Some people, a lot of people voted according to this. This is against the law, but this is what has happened. But at least those people who came to the ground of reality, some of them moved directly from prison to the parliament. Khairat al-Shatir moved directly from prison to be a candidate for presidency. So we are waiting, but I always have the hope, I always have the confidence of the Egyptian people, because when they decided to make Mubarak step down, however his regime, out of his people are still in power, but when we decided to do this and we're satisfied that what we are doing is the right thing, we did it. So I'm not worried. This is my humble opinion about our revolution up till now. And thank you very much.